Aloha, and welcome to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue, a podcast presented by the Hawaiʻi Ag and Culinary Alliance, sharing conversations from the Feast Summit at the annual Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival. Here, leaders across food, education, agriculture, sustainability, and tourism come together to explore the future of food systems and hospitality, and how culinary sits at the center of the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond. In this Feast Dialogue episode, we bring you a dynamic panel on feeding change, transforming food systems, recorded live at the Feast Summit. Moderated by Jayson, Director of Environmental Health and Safety at Mahi Pono, and featuring panelists Rona Fukumoto, Gary Maunakea-Forth, Robin Kumabe, and First Lady Jaime Green, this conversation brings together the Hawaii-based changemakers transforming the local food landscape, combining agriculture, culinary training, and social enterprise to serve communities. Pull up a seat and join the dialogue.
Aloha and good morning. I am pleased to serve as your moderator and lead the discussion on food feeding change, transforming food systems one meal at a time. I'd like to start by introducing our distinguished leaders on this panel. First we have Rona Fukumoto. Rona is the president and CEO of Lanakila Pacific, leading programs that provide meals for kupuna while training individuals for long-term workforce success. Can you hear me now? Next we have Gary Maunakea-Forth. Gary is the co-founder of Ma'o Organic Farms, where he created an intergenerational model that ties agriculture to youth leadership and higher education. Welcome, Gary. Sitting next to Gary, we have Robin Kumabe. Robin is the executive director of Touch a Heart, a Hawaii-based nonprofit that combines culinary, food services, training, paid work, and social enterprise to create pathways for people facing barriers to employment, while also addressing food insecurity through programs like the Baker's Heart and Ohana Meals. Welcome, Robin. And lastly, and no stranger to anyone, we have our First Lady of the state of Hawaii, Jaime Green. The First Lady is an advocate for children's nutrition and food security, championing initiatives such as regional school lunch kitchens to connect local ag with Keiki meals. And I'd like to also add a heartfelt thank you for using your voice to convene a working group that breaks down barriers. And there's a lot of people doing work throughout the state, and to bring them together is not easy. So thank you. First question is for Rona. At Lanakila Pacific, you not only provide meals to kupuna, but you also do workforce training. Can you share a story where one of your trainees or clients showed how this dual mission changes lives long term?
Sure. Thank you, Jayson. And I also wanted to thank Denise Yamaguchi and the planning committee of the Feast Summit for allowing me to share Lanakila Pacific's story. So, forgive my prompts, but I wanted to start by adding something to our introduction. Our workforce programs are for people with disabilities. So 75% of our direct labor workforce has a significant disability. And that just means that they cannot find or retain a job on their own or without support. Our job is to give them the support, the training, and the opportunities to be independent and find their own jobs. So a good example of this is Chris. But before I tell you Chris's story, I really wanted to give you some context about what our Lanakila kitchen does. So pre-COVID, we set a goal to use more local produce. That's in our meals for our Lanakila Meals on Wheels program, serving 800 or 900 seniors each week. And our Keiki meals, which go out to preschools, charter schools, Head Start programs, and other childcare programs. So as far as Chris, he was a quiet but determined employee. He came to us through a Work Hawaii partnership at the American Job Center. He had done some skills training at Windward Community College. He also was Serve Safe certified, but he needed real work site experience and help adjusting to new environments. So he got that at Lanakila Kitchen. You know, because we source locally from farmers, the produce comes in huge bundles, and there's a lot of work done, you know, chopping and preparing. And because Chris was in that role, he was able to, over time, increase his knife skills, his speed and accuracy. He was also very attentive to details, so he was a great prep cook. And he has been hired by a James Beard nominated restaurant, and he's thriving. So, you know, really just having that opportunity to learn and be supported was really important to him. And there are ways for us to break down vegetables. So, you know, kabocha is one of the not so favorite vegetables in our kitchen. But the repetitive work is a great training opportunity to people with disabilities, and it allows us to graduate skilled employees into the workforce.
Cool. Thank you, Robin. Rona, so our next question is for Gary. At Ma'o, you've built an intergenerational model where farming is tied to youth leadership and higher education. What's one student success story that shows how this model shifts the system beyond just food production?
Wow, well, firstly, aloha mai kākou o Gary Maunakea-Forth ko inoa no makaha mai au o Aotearoa ku o Onihanau. My name's Gary. Maybe just stepping back a fraction in the 3 minutes I have. You know, Ma'o was started 25 years ago, and mahalo to Mike for bringing up the idea of social enterprise. It was built around the idea of social enterprise. Back then in Hawaii, it was called community-based economic development, and everything we read about DC Kitchen, and we actually got to see Robert speak a couple of times, which just blew us away, was powerful in understanding that we were dealing with decolonization to press a point towards what Sean was talking about in the panel beforehand, and to deal with the trauma related to the colonial experience. And so for us, it was all about empowering young people, putting them to work for sure, and getting them to malama their kuleana, as we say, but to reconnect to aina. And so land is the critical component for us, whereas the kitchen and the knife skills and the food is critically important. So food may be the center of the plate, but for us, aina and the reconnection, the pilina we create with young people and the land around them. I was going to show some slides, because it's all very well seeing someone in a closed-off room where you can't even see the ocean speak about growing food. It's very difficult. And usually, the person that I'm going to talk about, just briefly, would have been here speaking. She's been with us for 18 years, as have a lot of young people. They came through all our programs. For us, our programs are built around, a lot of programs are built around early intervention and getting young people to understand that college is an option, and maybe not becoming farmers, because if we tell young people, hey, you're going to come and work on our farm and get college experience, and then you're going to become a farmer, they're like, we'll run in the other direction. But we want them to be empowered enough to understand the various options they have in their world. So Kawisana started with us as a high school senior. She didn't know how to get to college. Flash forward 18 years, she's not here because she just started a trip. She's going to Europe for 2 weeks. She's going to the Basque country in Spain to enjoy food. And to us, that's the level of empowerment that we want our community to embrace. Mike mentioned marginalized communities of DC. When folks in our communities here say waianae, we think about homelessness and poverty. But those are the negative things we certainly have to be aware of, and we have to build programs around how to solve those things. But we feel that the most important things are the opportunities and the assets we have in our community. And to this question is, our biggest asset apart from land is the young people of our community. And so we spend a lot of time figuring out how to empower them, challenge them, support them, and stop. Yeah. First time I've ever stuck it to 3 minutes, I'll tell you.
Thank you, Gary. Our next question is for Robin. Touch a Heart links culinary training with real paid work. Can you share a story of a graduate who has created a new pathway because of this program?
Good morning, everyone. I thank you so much. I'm very honored to be amongst a panel of such great caliber. And thank you, Mike, for such an inspirational story for us. Yes, I would like to share about Curtis. And Curtis is actually here with us today, so you'll be able to meet him later on. He came to us, a little bit of background about Touch a Heart. We do work with Justice Involved, and we like to think of ourselves as really having that full service from pretrial, before they get sentenced even, all the way through prison and then out and back to us in probation. So being able to be that family for our people and be a community for them is extremely important. So I'd like to share about Curtis, who came to us with a lot of skill sets. He actually did work as a line cook at Roy's in Waikoloa. He was also at Jackie Ray's as a sous chef, and as well as Hawaii Preparatory Academy on the Hawaii Island, sous chef there too. So he came with the skill sets. He came with all of those to us back in 2020 in pretrial. And in that time together with us, what he found is that with what we call growth mindset, being able to change the way you think, he discovered that all those other qualities about himself, the things that were about giving instead of receiving, about purpose and meaning in his life, those are the things that he took away from our 8-week program, which was in paid food service training. The beauty is that 2020, it was a crazy thing with the pandemic, but what we did was we were able to pivot ourselves also so that we were serving the kupuna and family through our kupuna and family meal program. And through that, all of our people were actually able to serve the people and serve the community that maybe they had taken from. So Curtis went in and was able to serve the kupuna with the meals that he had prepared. And then in 2021, he went to serve his time and then came right back to us in 2024 at the end. And today he is our chef trainer. He got trained by my own husband, who is our director of training and operations. And today we are actually working together with youth. We got invited to be part of Olamana, and we train in growth mindset over there for the Hawaii Youth Corrections Facility. And so instead of going back in and out, perhaps we'll be able to prevent them from going in. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Our next question is for the First Lady. As First Lady, you've emphasized the links between food, education, and community well-being. What role do you see government playing in making food security part of the state's long-term resilience strategy?
Aloha, Jayson. Aloha, everyone. Mahalo for the question, and mahalo to my fellow panelists, to Mike, and to probably many of you in the audience for all of the work that you do for our community. This is a kako effort, for sure. Really, I think the government plays an important role together with all of you in strengthening our food systems. I think that, obviously we support all of our local community partners. We support our local farmers. We provide grants, as well as education and other opportunities and programs for this work in our community. We also invest heavily in infrastructure. We are looking at developing food hubs, cold storage, even a slaughterhouse to help with all of our producers here on the islands. And then we also are using our statewide scale for demand. So our Department of Education, for example, that's something that we are particularly looking at in feeding our children. We want to feed them nutritious, locally sourced meals. And there are over 165,000 students in our Department of Education system, including charter schools, and they serve over 20 million meals every year. And so with our farmers, knowing what kind of meals they have a consistent demand, that they would be able to provide the proper produce for. And we're trying to work together with the whole ecosystem so that we're not creating recipes or meals that we have to import all the time, but that we can know what kind of things that the farmers are growing themselves. Also, I think in terms of really bringing everyone together for this strategy is important. To make it cohesive, we're bringing together agriculture, education, health, emergency preparedness to really build a system of food security with our community partners and nonprofits working all together.
Very exciting, very exciting. Thank you, ma'am. As we move to our second round of questions, we'll start again with Rona. With the rising need for elder care and community meals, what systems or policies would help you scale both the social services and training aspects of your work?
So I'm happy to follow the First Lady because, I think that the policy is already in place. So the DOE's goal to source locally, 30% locally by 2030, is our vision. We just want to help create inclusive, to make it an inclusive system. So I talked about Lanakila Pacific wanting to source locally. So right now we serve about 2,000 meals a day. And of those meals, so taking a step back, when we first started this journey, we had a baseline study done by Hunter Heveland, and we were at 2% local produce. As of September, we are at 80% of our vegetables being sourced locally. So, thank you. They worked really hard. So we're talking about it also includes sweet potato, ulu, and kalo, but also vegetables, so kangkong, watercress, choy sum, daikon, all of those things and more. And we really like to get into the fruits, although there's not too many fruits here. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we on a very small scale have demonstrated that it can be done. And it can be done with a workforce primarily of people who have challenges to work, who have significant disabilities. And this is a shameless plug to be part of the system, but we are ready to do that. And I think we also have the bones of a food hub in Wahiawa. The latest addition has been a 20 by 30 foot refrigerator. We are kind of building that out now to have a workforce go in there and expand what we're doing. And we are a nonprofit. So at our heart, we're community-based, and we want to do whatever we can to support the community. But we also have a social enterprise model, which allows us some flexibility to address some of these emerging needs, emerging initiatives. And at the end of the day, if it means more jobs for people with disabilities, if it means sourcing more local produce, we're in. We're ready to scale up, and we're happy to discuss that.
Thank you, Rona. Our next question. Oh yeah, we clap.
You're listening to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, conversations from the Feast Summit exploring how food, culture, and hospitality shape the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond.
Our next question is for Gary. Scaling agriculture often means bigger fields and more output, but you focused on scaling people. How do you define success in a way that challenges conventional measures of productivity?
Wow. Okay, go. I need more than 3 minutes for that. But wow. So we like to ask ourselves, pehea ka'aina, how is our land doing? How is the land doing? And when we ask that question, we're actually asking, how are our young people doing? How is our community doing? And so we still have a lot of work to do. Lots and lots of work to do. I'd say, the impact slide that you showed, Mike, is, we crave those numbers and those impact, and I love putting those kinds of slides up. So, congratulations on all that great work you folks do. I think we started with 5 acres of lease land, and now we farm, 250 acres. We managed to find financing to buy that land. So this land that we have, that we're clearing currently, because most of it was never farmed before, and we're teaching young people how to clear land. So they're operating excavators, farming. Right now they're picking and packing vegetables, processing vegetables for farmers markets. Tomorrow, if you go to Kaka'ako, you go to Pearl City, or you come to Waianae, great farmers markets and really affordable foods. I think that returning land and getting it to community use is critically important. It has to happen. Our lease land was always, we had a 25-year lease, but it's always the concern that you plant more trees and those trees may not fruit for you. So we've spent the last couple of years rehabilitating some of this land, planted 500 or 600 ulu trees. Huge demand for ulu trees. By the way, there is massive demand for certified organic foods. We cannot keep up. We bob and bop around from customer to customer, but everyone wants more certified organic local food. I think the big impact we've just saw recently is last year, the Weinberg Foundation actually donated to us 249 acres. And so now we are the third largest landowner in Waianae. The two bigger ones are both government. And now we're going to continue doing what we're doing. We're going to plant a lot more trees, and this gives us a chance to think more about the ahupua'a and how we can rehabilitate the ahupua'a with both food forests, agroforestry, and biocultural restoration. So a lot of native trees, which we've been experimenting with as ground cover, as interplantings for trees, which are the kinds of things that fascinate young people. Young people do not want a monocrop. They do not want to grow food that's not food. So when we talk about industrial hemp, young people don't want to work in that. They want to grow food and they want to eat food and celebrate food with their peers. And the other thing we're going to do with this land is start our first affordable housing project, both rental housing and subsistent agricultural lots that we'll sell to young people in our community. There's a lot of demand. Both of these folks work for organisations. We spend a lot of time providing food to the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Centre, Elapaio Services, who have chose to put more local vegetables too in their kupuna pantry, in their Keiki pantry. So the food in the land will be the centre of the plate for us in our community. Yeah, mahalo.
Thank you, Gary. Our next question is for Robin. What do you believe it would take, whether collaboration, community partnerships, or systems, to scale social enterprises that address both food insecurity and workforce development in Hawaii?
So Touch a Heart actually started with community and collaboration as our key words. And what we started with was we wanted to find underutilized or unutilized commercial kitchens to work out of, because that way we could put in the certification and we can come in and partner with them. So we have done that ever since, and even today we are operating out of a Kalihi Union Church's kitchen. We do not pay rent, we don't pay utilities, but we partner with them, and we provide the meals for a lot of their ministries there, as well as some of the things that they do over there. But for us, that collaboration also helped during COVID, because we were able to have that as a hub for people to come pick up their meals, or we had volunteers that actually delivered too. So that has been something that's very important to us. Collaboration also means, and community partnerships also means, that we can keep ourselves as just, we have one area that we have maybe a little bit of expertise in, but we don't know everything. And we can't provide everything. So even today, we are working together with Lanakila, with Rona, and their partnership, realizing that some of our people do have definitely mental health disabilities, and we can actually bring them over there, and they can be employed there as well. Collaboration means that we can work with other nonprofits as well as for-profit companies and provide meals, for ourselves. Even Mari's Garden is where we get our produce from. So all of those things are part and parcel. For workforce development, I think the thing for us is that we realize that if we want to be a nonprofit that works with those that have barriers to employment and provide them with the schools and training, the skill sets and the training to be in the workforce, then we too have to operate and practice what we preach. And so about 65% of our revenue is generated from earned revenue through those 3 social enterprises. And so we don't want to be the one that takes the money from the government if we don't absolutely have to. So we have been able to do that, but for our people, they can be very proud that they not only are going into the workforce with ourselves and providing that and getting a very good wage as well, but also if they go into the job market, they have the skill sets above and beyond. We are so very proud of them because they bring to the table, as exactly like Mike Curtin said, above and beyond, highest quality, highest values about the workforce, and then they give, hardest workers. So I think we're just very grateful and proud of those two as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Our final question is for the First Lady. You've been closely involved in efforts to feed Hawaii's Keiki, including the movement toward regional school lunch kitchens. From your perspective, how can these initiatives transform both child nutrition and local agriculture?
As we know, when kids go hungry, it affects not only their physical health, but also their mental health. How do we expect them to concentrate in school, to focus, to enjoy extracurricular activities if they're going hungry? I'm sorry, but really, it is, like Mike said, and like you all have mentioned, it's more than just the food and feeding them. It's really about having them, not only providing them with locally sourced, nutritious meals, but having them connect, being able to have meals that connect them to their culture, connect them to the regional produce and resources that we have to offer, connecting them to our aina, so that they're not just having a meal, but that they're starting to build lifelong healthy habits, lifelong healthy connections. And so this program, the regional kitchens, as well as all of your programs, because it takes a village and it takes way more than one farm, whether it's a big farm or just on one island, we need all the help that we can get. And it's not just about our children, it is about all of us in our communities that need help. But to focus specifically on the regional kitchens, we're working in partnership with not only the nutritionists in our education system, but also with the Culinary Institute of the Pacific and other chefs to create meals and recipes that are culturally appropriate, that include things like ulu and kalo and uala and sweet potato, not just, and also zucchini and tomatoes and locally grown produce, but really incorporating all of that into their recipes and their meals, things that can be made at the regional kitchen, which will create jobs. And also it's not just about having line workers there, but ones that are building up skills. Through partnerships with CIP, we are having them relearn skills and training so that they can use them in other ways. And then also having the kids know that there are jobs out there, and when they're connecting to their local farms and know where their produce is coming from, then they can see that there's job opportunities, there's other opportunities, not just in farming, but in all kinds of agriculture and technology that they can be involved in. And so it's really helping the entire ecosystem. And again, when there's this much demand, and it's not just in our education, in our schools, but even in our health system, in our corrections facility, all of this demand creates this consistent marketplace for our farmers, for our growers, for our producers to know that they can reinvest in their farms. They can reinvest in their land, in their technology to produce whatever commodities. And we're working with the farmers as well to know what commodities they're currently making, and then what help they need to provide enough to scale up for, to make over 20 million meals for our Keiki alone. And so we're trying to do this together and to really strengthen our ecosystem. And by strengthening all of that and improving our local agriculture, working with them, then we're also able to create food security and more resilience for our state, because we're keeping our food dollars here, we're importing less, we're creating a system of self-sufficiency.
Feast, Dish and Dialogue is presented by the Hawaiʻi Ag and Culinary Alliance, the nonprofit organization behind the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Founded to strengthen Hawaii's culinary and agricultural industries, HACA connects world-class culinary events with year-round investment in education, workforce development, and local agriculture. Through programs that support students, entrepreneurs, farmers, and hospitality professionals, HACA works to ensure Hawaii's food and hospitality ecosystem continues to grow, innovate, and thrive.
I think this concludes our questions. We'd like to now move into the audience members who may have questions for the panel. Heartfelt thank you to our esteemed panelists and Mike Curtin for generously sharing their insights. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I had a question.
Go ahead. Please identify yourself and your organization.
I'm Liana. I work for the city. When you say you want to build the agricultural workforce, can't you tap into the children themselves? Because I myself have worked in early childhood education, so we've done gardening with the kids, and that will really it'll have repercussions in so many positive ways. And I think if you get kids involved at the initial stages, they're really invested in their own health, the community, and it's gonna revitalize, what Mike said with his area, right, in DC. And I think we could see it's just so much benefit from that, if you actually get the kids themselves involved. So whether it's DOE or an after-school program starting it initially, I'm wondering where the state is headed with that.
Yes, so I absolutely agree, and we do. We have school gardens in schools and farm to school, and we also have field trips and not just field trips, but partnerships where we have school children partner with nonprofit farms and go there and work there, and then are able to pick their own produce and be able to create recipes that they can share with their families for the produce that they create. And just as a personal aside, we have a picky eater at home, or he was a picky eater in elementary school. And when he was able to grow his own peppers in school, he tried them, and it took him maybe 5 or 6 years later to actually enjoy peppers regularly. But I see that when we visit schools all the time, the kids who are growing them in their schools are trying them. So I absolutely believe so. And we have agricultural programs in our high schools that we're promoting so that we can get them involved. And like I said, it's not just to have just farming, but also connection to Aina. It's connection to technology. They're figuring out new ways of farming and what else goes into it, whether it's economy, having a farmer's market. There's so many ways to get kids involved, excited about nutrition, excited about the industry of farming.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you want to add?
So I'm going to come on. Before the next question, I would just add a piece that I think that the larger point there is we have to involve the kids. And a couple of the things that we do, there was a picture on one of the slides that I didn't, trying to get everything in 20 minutes. We have something called a truck farm, and it's a fancy word for a pickup truck with a garden in the back. And we take it around to the schools, and we let the kids climb in it and touch the ground. And we have kids that didn't know that potatoes actually grew in the ground. They thought they came in a red box with a yellow M on it. And engaging the kids, but not just there in with the menuing. So once a month, we have what we call our Fresh Feature Friday. And we have our chefs and our nutritionists work together usually on an item that we've seen plate waste or we're trying to introduce. You don't really need to do a plate waste study to see kids don't like broccoli, but we did. And so we have 3 different menus and recipes, and the kids taste it, and they vote. And we've seen consumption go up by 300-400%, because you're just asking what they like, and even if their choice doesn't win, they feel engaged and valued and heard. And we have a over 90% approval rating from the kids in elementary school. Imagine that, right? Like, kids don't do that, but it's engaging them in the whole food system and making them feel they're part of it.
Thank you, Mike. Proceed. Can you identify yourself? And,
Robbie Melton. This question's for Mike. I was working with a nonprofit on Kauai, and they're a bakery, and they really have a heart for training people coming out of incarceration, which he's been doing for years, but then we're trying to expand it into getting other food places to engage incarceration. Our biggest problem was housing, because when people come out of incarceration, as you know, there's no housing. Kauai's a very small island. So I'd love to hear your ideas for nonprofits like ours. How do we expand? What are some advice you could give for startups that really want to grow in this direction?
Sure. So housing is a huge problem in DC as well. That's why DC has sort of expanded into almost to Baltimore now. But I would say, recognizing that that's going to be an issue, and working with other groups. So we do a lot. There was talk about partnerships and really meaning partnerships. So we work with housing organizations to help people get to a stable place where they can get the job and then move forward. But the important piece that I wanted to mention is that we talk about life skills and knife skills. Life skills are what's going to help people get the job, but it's the life skills, or we call them empowerment sessions, that are going to help people keep the job. So I think it's so vital as part of any training program, not just to work on the vocational, the technical pieces, but anger management, value, time management, all of these issues that are preventing folks from maintaining these jobs. And we can't pretend for a second that our 14-week program is going to overcome decades of trauma, but we can start. And I will tell you just real quick that, like, this is a part of the class or the program that the students hate. They loathe it at the beginning. They say, well, and when we tell them, they don't believe it. They just want to get their certificate and go get a job and cook. But by the end of that 14 weeks, they almost to a person said, that's the thing I enjoyed the most. That's what made me successful. I didn't quit because that person was going to quit, and I didn't want to give them the excuse to quit. So that value, that personal connection that some folks have never had, I think that's the most important thing to think about on expanding job training programs, and then really working with other organizations that can provide those other supportive services.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, sir. Identify yourself. And
Hi, my name is Sean Ramos from Waimanalo. Studying sustainable agriculture right now at Windward Community College and facilities management, hopefully to guide some large solar farms in the future. So I'm just asking, my parents have 10 acres in Waimanalo. We're trying to grow something. So I'm just saying, what advice do you have for people entering into the small market economy for farming and sustainability, and if you have any advice for that?
Oh, yeah, lots of advice. Actually, I've heard people answer this question say, don't do it, right? But do it. Grow everything, try everything. And this loops back to maybe the first question about young people getting into, I think what we think about young people getting into it, and you're thinking about it as like career development, or is it an enterprise? And 10 acres is, you can be dangerous with 10 acres, right? But I would say that it's got to be fun for you to do it. It's going to be hard work. Like, I work 80 to 100 hours, and when I'm not sleeping, I'm thinking about the farm. I'm thinking about it right now, and I can feel my phone almost warming up my thigh. So it's like, have some fun doing it. And the most important thing, I think, if a young person is getting involved, and this young woman here worked at Pono, who inspired hundreds of people to think about food. Most of the young people that came to the farm in the first decade were from private schools. Public schools didn't come to the farm. And it was, you know, most of the school gardens that we work with were sending the kids that wouldn't want to learn. So the gardens became these things where alternative ed kids were going to. Now, that's awesome as well, but I think gardens and your farm has got to become pivotal in you to reconnect. So your mantra should be aloha aina, aloha aina, aina aloha. You should love the things you do. And when you, for a long time, not so much now because I like to jump in the ocean every evening, but when we started the farm in the 90s, in the 2000s, my wife would call me up or text me like, "Where are you? Are you coming home?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I forgot to pick up my kid, or I forgot to do something," because it's just like you see the mountains and it becomes so intoxicating. And I think that's got to lead our workforce development. It's got to lead everything we do in agriculture, because we're a small island. We're never going to compete with the continents. But if we have quality food and lots of it, it's going to make an economic development dent eventually. But we have a lot of work to do to get to that point. But good luck, bro. Yeah, good luck.
Can I add a comment? There are so many government opportunities too to help you. There's so many programs, DBED and CTAR. I don't know. We just have a lot of resources. So if I know you want to be true to the aina and see what will grow there, but we have experts that also have done studies that can help you maybe guide which direction and and give you resources too as well to start up.
If today's conversation inspires you, we invite you to experience it in person at the Feast Summit, returning Thursday, November 5th, 2026 in Honolulu during the 16th Annual Hawaiʻi Food and Wine Festival. Mark your calendars, tickets go on sale this May. Learn more at hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com.
I'm Jan Yap, and yes, I retired from Pono, but I just retired for the second time from Liho Liho Elementary. I taught the Aina in School program. These kids do not know how to eat poi, how to eat ulu. I would scavenger the neighborhood. I would get soursop. I'd make soursop sorbet. I would make ulu sorbet, ulu fried rice. My passion was to eat close to the source. I didn't want to retire because I loved what I teach. I would get the microphone in the cafeteria and say, "You see this poi? Don't you dare throw it away. You need to know the benefits of it. If you want to throw it away, you give it to me. I'll convert it into poi smoothie." So the DOE got rid of this farm to school advisor. And so these kids need to learn how to eat, how to read labels, how to have half of their plate be fruits and vegetables. They need to know there should be a cafeteria teacher to say, "Hey, get that chicken, mix it with that salad." They need to know all of this, and there's not enough going around. I retired because I have to take care of my body, but I was passionate about what I taught. Also, the DOE needs to do better procurement on getting fruits and vegetables with the Department of Education. And I hate to say it, but I have a relative who works in that department, and he is passionate about what he does, but he talks about all the roadblocks that he has to go through to get the farmers and to procure all of these fruits and vegetables. That's all I have to say, but thank you.
I'd like to address that. I think that we're in times that are changing, and just in this past year that we've been working on it, we're seeing a lot of growth in that area. Procurement is frustrating for all of us. But we're trying to, just in the past session, we've changed laws in procurement so that the DOE can buy fresh produce, and we're changing ways for them to access it. And then also through these regional kitchens and the recipes and all of that, we're opening doors for the children to have more opportunities and access to these vegetables. It's not necessarily about telling them that they have to, but really, bringing it to them and giving them opportunity to experience it. And I'm so sorry, I know we're over time, but I just want to share this with you. We had visited KS, and one of the things they had said was in the beginning, 7 years ago, when they first started these new programs of introducing ulu and poi, nobody ate the ulu and poi. They all ate saimin. They were all standing in line, to eat all of the pizza or whatever else they had there, not the salad bars, not ulu, not poi. But they introduced it to the elementary school students, and not like forcing them to eat it, but having it present and saying like, oh, you can try a bite, you can just, and just slowly introducing it to them and having opportunities for them to try different recipes, or just having it, around. Now that they're high schoolers, they're eating the poi like crazy. They're eating ulu like crazy, and that's what we need to do. We need to have opportunity for our public school children to also be introduced to these at an earlier age where they can, enjoy it. So I'm just letting you know that there is progress being made. We do know it's an issue, and we're working on it.
Perfect. Can we do one final? I guess you go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. How's it? My name is Joe McGinn. I am a farmer and a chef, courtesy of the Culinary Institute of America and CIP program. My question is for each of you on this panel, including you, Jayson. I appreciate how a lot of the stories you guys shared are really personal. So my question for you guys is 3 parts. What's the last thing you guys didn't cook? Did you use any local produce in it? What made it ono? But most importantly, what did you learn from doing that? So what's the last thing you cooked? What made it ono? And what did you learn from that process?
You can start from that end.
The last thing I cooked for dinner last night was steak and peppers and onions. It was ono. My son ate practically all of it, and I made a huge, huge batch of it. It was not local, but I'd like to share that I did have tomatoes and zucchini that were local in it. But what I'm learning is just that the value of, again, introducing things, having things around. At first, like I said, we have a picky eater, so, I can't force him to do anything he doesn't want to do, but just making it, having it available, eventually I reap the benefit of it, even though it might be years later.
For us, actually, the last we've cooked is part of our Baker's Heart program, and we use ulu flour that we used to mill ourselves until it got so popular. And we also use keawe pod flour. So those are locally sourced, all of that. And we make delicious cookies made from those. And so we're very, very proud that we can turn something that might be thought of almost for sure keawe. Nobody thinks that they're going to eat that. But to turn it into something that is highest quality, highest value, just like our people. Thank you.
Oh, Joe. I think my wife cooked last night, my granddaughter cooked the night before, but I'm going to cook on the weekend tomorrow. And Malcolm meats, buy the shank, the beef shank, and slow cook it. And we're just coming into winter, so we have a lot of fennel and a lot of purple onions, these beautiful little onions. And then, we eat salad, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I get sick of salad, but if I don't bring it home, my granddaughter now is 19, and she's just like, where's my salad, Papa? Where's my salad, Papa? So, and her brother's not like that. He'll hide the salad under his table. So, great question, though. Yeah. Now I'm on offer for something.
Oh, I'm worse. I actually don't cook, but funny you ask this because, I live in an intergenerational household. My dad is the cook. But he taught me how to cook beef tomato last week, so I'm in a good place this week. So zucchini, tomato, I think we had eggplant in there, all local, and it was delicious. It came from one of those old cookbooks, you know, from back in the day. But but picking at the market, the local stuff, right? You can't just go in there and grab whatever. You need to really be intentional sometimes. So, but yeah, one time I actually cooked. Perfect question.
The day before I left to come over here, we did pizza at DC Central Kitchen. And this is a really good example of sort of the larger program. When we started doing school food, I sort of self-righteously said, okay, we're never doing any of this food again. We're not doing pizza. We're not doing chicken fingers. We're going to do plank roasted salmon with a berry coulis. And guess how many kids like that? 0 is the answer. So what we did is we took out from the garbage can those menus that we had self-righteously crumpled up and thrown out and said, okay, well, let's give the kids what they want, but let's do it a little smarter. So let's do pizza, but let's do it with a whole wheat crust that we make. Let's use a fresh tomato sauce that we have volunteers cut local tomatoes that we source from local farms. Let's use a low-fat cheese from a local farmer. Let's cut zucchini. Actually, the summer is in the DC area, zucchini and squash, crazy. You get them practically for free. So we cut that up and put that on the pizza. And it's pizza, but it's really healthy pizza. And the kids love it. And we do that with a green salad, and I think we were doing apple slices. The greens were from a local urban farm in DC. And then the apple slices were from a farmer in the Shenandoah Valley that we work with a lot. So that was about a 90-some% locally sourced meal, and the kids ate all of it. You know, so that's that, and we engaged volunteers, and we provided revenue for local farms. So that's the kind of the bonanza that we're looking for in this, and we don't have to redo everything. We just do what we've done a little smarter.
Thank you. And then for me, it would be eggs. I had Wailua eggs. And I bring it up because to the First Lady's comments about the Central Kitchen, on that site plan, there's going to be an egg cracking facility that hopefully, if that gets online, the DOE will be able to include fresh eggs into their meal system. So that'll be a big boost to meet the governor's goals on local food production. So that's huge. But with that, looks like our time is up. Heartfelt thank you to our esteemed panelists and Mike Curtin, for generously sharing their insights. Everyone will be around throughout the day, so feel free to reach out if you have further questions or comments, and we look forward to continuing these engaging conversations.
Mahalo for listening to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and share it with someone passionate about food, agriculture, and hospitality. To learn more about the Feast Summit and the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, visit hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Feast, Dish, and Dialogue.